So Todd Nivens of the Waskesiu Environmental Education Society joins us here on the show. Now we're standing on this land, but for people who maybe aren't from town or are unaware, just talk about the importance and the past history to this land.
Sure. So Fort Normandeau sits on the site of the original community of Red Deer Crossing, and it's the place where red deer really began. It's the place where there's a natural depression in the river, on the riverbank. Animals were following that shelf to get across the river. The First Nations people, the first people in the area, followed the animals across the river. Later on, the Métis buffalo hunters showed up, and they followed the First Nations people across the river. And when the first settlers came to the area, the first European settlers came to the area, they learned from the Métis and from the First Nations people how to get across the river, and realized very quickly that they could get carts across the river. And so it became a really important connector on the C&E Trail. And the early trade of the area really depended on this place. And so it was only natural that because there was trade going on here, because you can't always get across the river for environmental reasons, river flowing conditions, that people set up a town around here. They needed a place to stay. Once they had a place to stay, they needed a place to exchange their goods. They needed homes to live in. And before Reverend Leonard Gates showed up with his infamous land deal that moved red deer, this was a really burgeoning community for a number of years around the 1885 era.
So you guys do quite a bit of educating across central Alberta here, one of which the events coming up here is the Fort Normandeau Days. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Sure. So Fort Normandeau Days is a real celebration between the three founding cultures of Red Deer Crossing. Right. It's a chance for people to learn about not only the European settlers, who really are the latecomers to the party around here, but about the first people, the First Nations people that were here, that really, without their knowledge, we wouldn't know anything about this area. We know the European settlers never would have settled here. And to share those stories, the Métis stories and the European settler stories, in a big public venue. And we do all kinds of fun stuff to highlight those relationships.
Now, why do you think that's so important for Red Deerians or people from around central Alberta to celebrate that history and to learn more about everything here at Fort Normandeau?
Over the last 15 or 20 years, Red Deer's really undergone a dramatic change. When I first started here back in 2000, the people that were coming to the fort could trace their lineage back to early pioneer settlers. And as Red Deer's grown, that we've gone from 68,000 people in 2000 to just a shade under 100,000. This whole population that doesn't have a long-term historical tie or a multi-generational tie to Red Deer. So by sharing these stories of these three cultures that were so important to the area, it really helps to build a sense of community. It helps people who are perhaps new to the area learn about a sense of place. And we learn from our history. If we don't learn from our history, we're doomed to repeat it, right? So, having that cultural component available to not only long-term residents, but to new residents of the area, it really just helps to make the community experience and the lived experience that much more vibrant.
Perfect. Thanks for joining us. Plenty more great stuff coming up here on the show, but first, let's check out these community events. Head to the Markerville Creamery on August 10th for their annual Cream Day. They have tours on the hour with butter and ice cream making in the art and entertainment all afternoon, along with a number of fun and exciting activities including a mini carnival, kid zone, the Cream Can Express, and a petting zoo. For more information, call 403-728-3006. Jazz at the Lake is a 4-day festival held in beautiful Sylvan Lake, Alberta. The festival will have 14 different musical acts held at various locations across the community, with everything from feature headliner concerts on Friday and Saturday to a community block party on Sunday. For more information, visit jazzathelake.com. On August 23rd at 1 p.m., head on down to the Springbrook Multiplex for the Cruising to Cure Cancer Show and Shine. This year's event will have plenty for the whole family, from vintage vehicles, local bands, food, and even a drive-in movie. All proceeds go to the Canadian Cancer Society and the Air Cadets. For more information, call 403-986-2445.